Hello everyone, welcome to my tutorial. So let's continue our discussion on the HDFS architecture. The first thing is the name node, and the name node is the master node in the Hadoop cluster, and it manages everything. And that is why we're calling that to be the master node. So what does it manage? It manages the data nodes with the data blocks. And it also assigns the data blocks to the data node. So that means, let's say we would like to save a file, tutorial.txt. Now the name node will decide that where this chunk of data will be saved, or where means in which data node. So since this is managing everything, it needs to be a highly available server. And remember that this server can be a single point of failure. So because this is a single point of failure, we need to keep the information about this name node, and we keep the informations within the FS image and edit logs. So these are the two files. The first one is containing full image since the start of the name node, and the edit log contains the data, whatever we are changing after the start. So in case the name node is down, we should be able to retrieve these files and get the image to some other server. Now, the name node also records all the metadata of all the files stored in cluster. Okay, so these information are pertaining to the permissions, the file size, the blocks, all of these things. So these things, again, we are going to store this metadata, and everything we are going to store in this fs image and edit logs file. And of course, the name node contains the replication factor, and we know that the replication factor means that where or how many copies we are going to make. So now let's move on to the data node. The data node can be a very simple computer, the computer that we are using for our day-to-day activities. It doesn't need to be a very high-end server like the name node. And the data node actually contains or stores data. We interact, that means the clients interact to the data node, so that's why it accepts read and write requests. And one important thing about data node is that it is sending the heartbeat to the name node. So the heartbeat means that whether the data node or the computer in the cluster is good or bad. If it is bad, it won't send the heartbeat to the name node, and the name node will be able to understand that the computer is dead, and it will not allocate any data to that particular data node. Okay. Now let's move on to the next one, secondary name node. The secondary name node is a helper to the primary name node. So remember that this is not a replacement to name node. So we are going to have only one name node, and the secondary name node is just a helper to that. And how does it help? So see, like I just talked about, that name node is the single point of failure in HDFS. So the purpose of the name node, the purpose of the secondary name node, so let me write over here. The purpose of the secondary name node is to store a copy of fs image file and edit logs file. Okay, so remember that these are the two files we need to get a total image or total picture of what the cluster looks like, and the secondary name node is just keeping a copy of this, so that in case of the name node is down, we should be able to retrieve that information from the secondary name node. So that's why we can call that the secondary name node takes checkpoints of the file system metadata present on name node. Okay, yeah, that's why we call that to be the checkpoint node. And the last one is the data block, and the data blocks are smallest continuous location where data is stored, and the default size of data block is 128 megs. So let's say that we are going to have a file which is 130 megs, and how we are going to save it, how many data blocks it should be there. So there will be two data blocks. One is going to have 128 megs and the other one will be 2 megs. So this is how it is being chunked and stored in the data blocks, and then these data blocks are going to be stored in the data nodes. Okay, so that's all regarding the today's tutorial. Thank you.